necessary that you need to identify whether you're in the OTO or not, or whatever order. That's everyone's business. This is Thelema Coast to Coast. It's about Thelema and Crowley and occultism and magic and so forth. While a lot of the people that are on it or the discussions kind of involve the OTO, they really have larger world implications on just magic, occultism, and the Thelemic community in general. The OTO just happens to be the largest occult order and also the largest Thelemic order, so it ends up getting in the conversation frequently, but don't think that that is the focus of everything, because it's not. I understand that a large portion, or maybe even the majority of listeners, are not in the OTO. So thanks again to the 3 people who left voicemail. I did have other feedback in email, and I'll try to respond to those people when I can. But it really, voicemail is the best way to get in touch with me at this point, because it allows a good back and forth between the listeners, and that way I don't sound too bad reading the emails that people send. All right, moving on to today's show. The first interview is with Nicole Klagsbrun. She is the owner of a gallery in New York, an art gallery, and they have an exhibit of Marjorie Cameron Parson's artwork. So I talked to her a little bit about that exhibit and give some details about what they're doing. Then I have an interview with Keith 418. And he and I are talking about the family and its place within the magical community and magical practices. And then lastly, I have a follow-up interview with Jason Augustus Newcomb. We revisit his subject of new Hermetics, and we do a follow-up on how his program and his students have been progressing. And he and I talk a little bit more about what new Hermetics is, and kind of get a little more into it. So some people who've asked questions about that kind of can get that answered. So let's move into the interview with Nicole Klagsbrun.
We have Nicole Klagsbrun on the phone. Are you there, Nicole?
I am.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Now, your gallery is presenting an exhibition of the works of Marjorie Cameron Parson Kimmel. When does that exhibition start?
It opens this Friday.
On January
12th.
12th. Okay. And when does it end?
And it runs for 6 weeks. For 5 weeks.
Okay. And how many pieces are in the exhibition?
About 35, 36 pieces.
And this is just an exhibition of her artwork. It's not a combined exhibition.
No, it's a one-person show.
Okay. Great. So how did this exhibition come about?
It came about through my interest in the work of Wallace Berman that I saw in the late 80s, and I went to California, saw the surviving people of the whole California Assemblage group in a big exhibition, I think in 91.
Mm-hmm.
Then I did a one-person show of Jada Feo 1 or 2 years later. So Michael Duncan introduced me to the work of Cameron, and thinking that I would be interested because of my past association with that group,
mm-hmm.
and indeed it did, and I thought the work was fantastic, and the life was incredible, and I decided to do the show. So I went to California, I went to Los Angeles about a year and a half ago to look at the drawings that George Herms had kept in his storage.
Okay, so these are all owned by George Herms?
They're not owned by George Herms, but he kept them. Mm-hmm. He kept them in boxes and promised Cameron that one day there'll be a show of her work.
Okay. So this is more of a show. The pieces aren't actually for sale?
The pieces are absolutely for sale.
They are?
Yes.
Okay, well, and what is the general price range?
The price range is between $3,500 to maybe $25,000.
Okay. And there's also going to be a catalog. Can you give some details about that?
The catalog is written by Michael Duncan, and all the pieces of the exhibition are reproduced, and it's a beautiful book, which will, is being published for this exhibition, which is basically her first big show, posthumous, but still.
And is that book for sale right now?
It is for sale. It hasn't arrived at the gallery yet, but it will be for sale, absolutely.
Oh.
I haven't priced it yet. But,
oh, you haven't priced it?
But color reproductions, and it's really, really beautifully designed.
Is it hardcover or softcover?
Softcover.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to purchase one of those, how should they get in touch with the gallery?
They could call the gallery or they could email us.
Okay.
This will also, on the website, we'll have the catalog and the price posted.
Okay. And your phone number?
It's 212-243-3335.
And your website?
The website is www.nicoleklagsbrun.com. Sorry.
No problem. I'll also have a link to the website on the show notes of the program. So, since this is her first exhibit, do you find that there's some renewed interest in her artwork and the artwork of this group?
I think so. There's an exhibition that is opening actually next week at the Grey Art Gallery called Seminar Culture, and it's also organized by Michael Duncan, and it's this whole Wallace Berman group, and she is quite prominently exhibited there. Mm-hmm. So that's going to happen at the same time as this exhibition, and I think it'll give it a lot of strength.
So are some of her pieces also going to be in that exhibit?
Absolutely. Absolutely, okay. Yes. As well as documentation and photographs.
Okay, and what gallery was that again?
That's the Grey Art Gallery. That's a museum affiliated at NYU on Washington Square East.
Okay. Do you know how many pieces of Cameron's are going to be in that?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic.
It's pretty fantastic, yes.
Is there any other information that you'd like the listeners to know about the exhibit?
No, that I hope that as many people as possible come to discover the work of Cameron. It has never been shown before.
Absolutely.
Most of the pieces have never been shown before.
Right, and that's as soon as I heard about this, that's why I wanted people to know about it.
And, as you know, the gallery shows mostly contemporary work, but I do like to do these historical shows as well.
Now, in the catalog, is there also going to be some background information?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's more of the substantial book than just the reproductions of the 36.
Yes, it's a nice, yeah. No, there's a text and there's absolutely information about her life. Yes.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much for being on the show and letting people know about the exhibit.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure.
All right. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Nicole for being on the show and taking the time to let us all know about the wonderful exhibit that she's doing of Cameron's work. Since that interview, I've gotten the information about the catalog. If you're interested in getting it, and I've already gotten my copy, and it's quite beautiful. It's a very nice cover. It's a paperback, but it does have a dust jacket. All of the artwork exhibited inside is full color reproductions. I mean, it's just very stunning, very beautiful. And it has a nice description about the work from Michael Duncan in the back. So highly, highly recommended. They are a limited edition for $20, and if you want to get a copy, you need to call the gallery directly at 212-243-3335. And again, the catalog is limited edition and $20. Now we'll move forward into the interview with Keith 418. Keith and I talk about a number of things in this, but it pretty much starts from the examination of where the family is and Crowley's ideas about the family and its place in the personal magical practice and the place within the community. So here's Keith 418 and I talking.
Keith, welcome back to the podcast, 93.
93, John. Thanks for having me.
One of the things that's been going around the Thelemic community lately is it seems to be redefining words and ideas. And one of those that has been going around is starting to call organizations families, and that Crowley was very pro-family and seeing the OTO in particular as a family. I kind of have some problems with that. If anything that I've ever seen, Crowley was very anti-family for its negative influences. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think you're right. And I think that people, again, are ignoring Magic Without Tears and the whole chapter on the family, public enemy number one. And the thing we need to pay attention to here is the way one of the easiest to understand Crowley books is the most frequently ignored by a community that claims it needs beginner books and explanations and interpretations and understandings of the Thelemic material. And I keep wondering if Crowley was really so hard to understand why people don't naturally gravitate towards a very easy to understand Crowley text, which is Magic Without Tears, which he wrote specifically to sort of cut through a lot of his harder to understand teachings and get to very simple points for an audience that he knew at the time was having trouble understanding some of his more difficult to get teachings. So he wrote this book, and the real response by most of the Thelema community is to completely ignore it. And I keep coming back to a Mark Twain quote, which I'm very fond of, where he says, "It ain't the things in the Bible I don't understand that bother me. It's the things in the Bible I do understand that bother me." And this is the attitude I think a lot of people in the Thelema community have about Aleister Crowley. It's not the weird, hard, difficult to grasp sections from The Vision and the Voice that bother them. It's the stuff in Magic Without Tears where he says, for example, the family is public enemy number one, or that any magician has to begin by keeping their family outside of their magical circle, or the fact that Thelema is at a guess 90% self-discipline. Another quote that comes from Magic Without Tears, or that Thelema should not be seen as a religion. There's a whole chapter about why this is a stupid thing to do. All of those things bother the people in the OTO more than the things that they don't claim to understand. So the irony of that is something that we really need to look at and study, because it's very instructive.
It's not too surprising then that the OTO has allowed Magic Without Tears to go out of print.
Yeah, and the original Carl Germer version is not in print. Carl Germer's version was edited ruthlessly by Israel Regardi. He cut out many sections, and the original unexpurgated version is very difficult to find. I think you paid quite a great deal for the copy you have. I actually don't even have a Xerox photocopy. I have another version that Moda published, which isn't great, but at least it has what Regardi cut out. But in any event, the OTO isn't even interested in Magic Without Tears, and I feel like I'm the only person who ever actually quotes frequently from it. The rest of the community just seems oblivious to it, and they ignore it because it tells them things they don't want to hear. But the family thing is interesting, too, because I think a lot of occultists and people drawn into the occult realm are screw-ups and mess-ups and people who have very bitter feelings about their families, but at the same time still want a family. They still want to belong to a family. And the OTO becomes this sort of cult-like substitute for a family. And without even thinking about it, they replicate all the same patterns that they had in their old families. A lot of times you see this very strange and very profound, pronounced denial going on. And we talk about this a lot. If you come from a family where your parents are dysfunctional, your dad's a drunk, your mom's addicted to pills, or your mom's depressed, or your big sister is like a cutter or whatever, then everybody sort of in the family comes around to denying that this is a problem. If your mom is morbidly obese, everyone kind of realizes, oh, you can't talk about that. And we see this in dysfunctional families. Well, the same dynamic is going on in the OTO. If there's a problem, everybody says, oh, you can't talk about that. Oh, don't talk about that. And they're importing, without even realizing it, the dysfunctional patterns and attitudes from their families, and they expect everyone to be just as honoring those dysfunctional patterns as they did when they were kids. And Crowley, maybe wasn't a Freudian therapist in that sense, but he could see that the family dynamics were destructive. And rather than saying, hey, look, we've got to critique the family, we have to look at the family critically, we have to train people to be independent of their families and to not replicate these same patterns over and over again, or expect that people won't do that, the OTO and the middle-class leaders of it is turning around and saying, oh, we need to make this like a family. We need to make it family-friendly. We need to reinforce the family structure. And that's insane. That would be the last thing Crowley wanted, but it's obviously something that a lot of the more pathetic people in the OTO really need. So I think it's appalling, but I think it's not unexpected. This is the sort of thing people like this tend to do. And many of us come to the OTO having read Crowley and expecting a critique of a family, and instead, we have these bourgeois leaders who are very concerned with their families. I mean, the other thing to think about is the people with kids who are parents. Our current society just teaches these people that they have to spend a huge amount of time worrying and fretting about their kids and planning every aspect of their day. This is a major part of bourgeois life right now. So the idea that the OTO should serve those bourgeois family demands makes complete sense. Everything else serves children and serves bourgeois parents as they shuttle their kids from soccer practice to violin practice to whatever. So why shouldn't the OTO get in line along with that? The idea that the OTO might be something that challenges that and says, hey, that way of raising kids is crazy, or that's not what we do here, or that's not what we're a part of, that's not something anyone wants to countenance.
Well, that gets to a debate that's been going on in the OTO for quite a while. I mean, I've seen it since I joined in the early 90s, is should they make, like the Gnostic Mass, kid-friendly, or should they have daycare for children during OTO rituals or initiations or things like that? And there's always been